And I believe we're all connected and ready to go for the first time in 2022. Hello everyone and welcome back to the GT Sport League for what looks like and what is potentially, I think, sadly, going to be the final season on this game before we move over into the new Gran Turismo 7 come the start of March. But hello everyone, you join us here in Suzuka for round one. And we're in an unfamiliar car. We've done one race in these cars before, and let's hope we have another good one. I'm on my second account, so hopefully everything should be all good. I am going to double check that all the settings, etc. are sorted. I hope my mic volume is all A-OK. But we've got 14 drivers on the grid tonight in these Super Formula cars, similar to the F1 car. A good comparison is about the 2014 Manor. They are probably quicker, slightly quicker than that car. But you can see we're riding on board, well, we have an overshot of Finn, who's going to be the first driver to set a quality time as things stand. First driver out on the track in a McLaren Golf themed car. Good evening, everyone in the chat. But let's talk a little bit about Suzuka. It's a really technical circuit. Definitely, if you include the first sector alone, is very, very technical, where lots of time can be gained and lost. Sorry, apologies about this. I'm just checking to see if the stream's up on my computer. And I believe my volume is all A-OK at the minute. So keeping on board with Finn as he approaches the spoon curb. Someone's gone off just before the hairpin. I believe that's Top Street. He's got bumper damage. And Dan is apologising in the chat. Not sure what for. I do have the keyboard, but I think we're a little bit too far behind. For a replay, someone's gone off at spoon. And I think that's one of the Irish drivers. It is Wolfie, your previous Group B champion for season 4 on the medium tyres, has gone off at spoon curve. You really don't want to be touching any of the AstroTurf here at this track, otherwise you'll be saying hello to the Shadow Realm and the Marshal by the barrier. Bin though is going to set the first flying lap, the first quali lap of the year, the first one of the season, and it's 1 minute 41.3. Can Tim go any quicker? He does go quicker by 2.1 seconds with a 39.2. Tiger Assassin slots in behind him, but he's beaten by Play Dutchy, who goes 4.5 tenths quicker than the Brit. Thunder puts himself in 5th place, but gets demoted to 6th as Toussaint, Tiger's teammate, goes up into 3rd place. Websons goes ahead of Thunder in 6th and almost 8 tenths behind Finn in 5th. There's an orange and yellow car in the background, an orange and white car, sorry, that is Piero crossing the line with a 1 minute 50.6, but I'm sure he can definitely go quicker. He is now Dutchy's teammate for this season. Aston putting in a competitive lap, going up into 5th place. He is on the soft compound tyres though, so expect him to do something slightly different to the drivers around him. This season we do have a few new changes. One of the most significant ones is the car class. We have 9 rounds, 9 different car classes. We have 13 different tracks as well that we're going to. Some tracks we go to more than one, some rounds we go to more than one track, which should definitely make this season really interesting. The tyres and fuel depletion / consumption changes between race to race dependent on what car we're using. For this, we are using times 6 on the tyres and times 2 on the fuel. And for this race, last season we had a mandatory, you had to use you had to use all 3 compounds, the super softs, the softs and the mediums. This season though, there is a mandatory tyre set. This race we have the mediums as a mandatory tyre, but all 4 tyres are available. This changes from race to race. For example, next week there may only be the mediums or hards available, and the hards are a mandatory tyre. That is the new system we've implemented for the final season. Toussaint improves, that's Tiger Assassin improving, going up into 3rd place, but is demoted by his teammate Toussaint, who goes up into 2nd place, 300ths ahead of Play Dutchy. Competitive lap from your season 1 champion, as 5.5 tenths behind Atom Grin, but is a 10.5 behind Piero, who goes up into 2nd place. And could this be a competitive teammate per se for Play Dutchy? He's had a new teammate every season since we've implemented a team's championship, and he's now pairing up with the Frenchman. Similarly, back in the Super League days when these two used to race in the F1 game. Piero still, previously racing in the F1 Super League. Dutchy only dedicating himself to GT Sport. But it is currently Tim on pole position with a 1 minute 39.2, the traditional 18-minute qualifying, which has been increased every season. But this one, we've kept it the same. It used to be 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, and now we've added a few minutes to make it 18, and we've kept that for the second season in a row. Interesting times on the board. The Scout Dan improves, and it's good enough for 10th place. Let's actually go through the drivers and the teams ahead for this season. We've got the full grid for the first race of the season, which is really impressive to see. Most teammates have fairly similar liveries, which is a nice way to distinguish between the teams. Atom Green, currently on provisional pole position, will be teaming up with the driver currently down in 14th place, Topster 2710, making his return as a full-time driver back to the GT Sport League. Last time out we saw him was as a replacement driver, but he's partnering up with Atom for season 5. Going down the grid, we've got Piero in second, going up to the line. Can he improve on his quality time actually? Not quite, 6.5 tenths off his personal best. Is teaming up with the 3-time GT Sport champion Play Dutchy, who's starting his 4th flying lap. Bon Evil improves and actually goes on to provisional pole position, 600th ahead of Tim. And well, Bonnie being dropped as Dutchy's teammate, has that given him the extra confidence boost and the extra pace he needs to outperform the Dutchman? In very Bottas-style fashion, he's only gone and put it on provisional pole position, and that was very close to hitting the back of Thunder. I think he did hit the back of Thunder. But going back to qualifying briefly, Tim's teammate Topster puts it on provisional pole position. 800 clear of Bon Evil with a 1 minute 39.0. We might see a time in the 38. Going back to the teams though, Piero teammates with Play Dutchy, Bon Evil teaming up with Websons for this season, who is down in 14th place at the minute, but is on a flying lap going through the first sector. Tiger and Hussein remain unchanged for the 4th season in a row since we've implemented the team's championship. Currently 5th and 7th on the grid with a 3-time GT Sport championship. GT Sport champion in the middle. Finn is teaming up with Thunder 50-50 for this season. Manuel not continuing for his second season. Aston currently running in 9th place is teaming up with the driver in 11th, the Scout Dan, as Wolfie closes that gap to Aston. Now a 10th between them two, as Wolfie sets a 1 minute 40.7. Their lineup is unchanged. Wolfie and Ted teaming up once again. The purple cars with either green for Wolfie or white for Ted. And I believe that is the entirety of the grid. Ted actually up to the line. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. He's a few tenths off of his personal best. A few drivers into the pits repairing any damage or just putting on a fresh set of tyres. We kept the same tyre rules from last season. Whatever tyres you enter the race, it's the tyres you must do the qualifying on, which makes... Do you sacrifice your grid position to start on the harder compound tyres, or do you want to be on the front and start on the soft compound tyres, or even the super softs, which are available? The only driver to do that tonight is Aston F1, who's down in 9th place on the soft tyres. He's done a 1 minute 40.5, but he's ahead of previous rivals who we've seen him fight in the past, mainly in the Group B Championship a few seasons ago. This season we definitely have a nice mix of both Group A and Group B drivers, and to be honest the grid is fairly close together. It may be 3 seconds from 1st to 4th, but it is really tricky to find the pace in these cars, especially at a technical track like Suzuka. So much time can be gained or lost by the shortest mistake. Let's have a quick look in the chat. Welcome to VCR Esports. Good evening. Tekka saying is GTS not a game on Twitch? I believe it is, but I'm not signed into the Twitch on my computer to change it, so hopefully if Gav's here watching he can quickly make some changes to that. Someone did improve on their qualifying time, I think, but I didn't quite see it pop up in the chat. Bon Evil does improve, 8 tenths down his personal best, trying to find the drivers approaching the line. One of them is Ted, One of them is going to be Play-Dutchy, but he is on an outlap. What about Websons? He's going making his way through 130R, currently running in 14th place as he makes his way through the final 2 chicanes. Can he improve on his personal best? It's a 142.1, goes up to the line and doesn't improve narrowly, misses out on an improvement. Piero and Dutchy, the 2 GT Sport teammates, Piero lifting off to serve his penalty, won't be improving on this lap. Someone who does improve is Aston F1, goes into the top 8. Speaking of the top 8, kind of ish, we have a new point system implemented for this season. You'll be able to see that in the Discord chats when the points, when the championship table gets uploaded. It's now only 25 points for first place, 20 for second, 16, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then the final 2 positions get no points. It should hopefully close the gaps towards the top of the championship and the midfield a little bit more, because originally we had 30 points for a win, then 24 points for second, the gap being 6 points between the two. Now there's only a 5-point advantage for getting a race win. Should make things rather interesting. Who is the driver going around the final corner? It is going to be Finn in the McLaren Golf livery, improves by 100th and is 7,000ths behind Aston, running in 9th place. 5 minutes left of qualifying. We've got a few drivers approaching the final chicane. Let's find who those drivers are. One of them is Toussaint, running in 5th place and doesn't improve on this lap. Another one of them is soon to be Play-Dutchy, who's apparently 7/10 purple through the 3rd sector. He's 7/10 off provisional pole. This could be an absolutely outstanding lap from Play-Dutchy. Can he put it on the front row of the grid? It's overtake up to the line. You can see it in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and he does put it on provisional pole by 8/10. It's a 38.1. For any doubters who questions why this man is a 3-time GT Sport champion, for any new viewers, this is why he has been on top so often. 8.5 tenths clear at the top of the field. We do have qualifying or more minutes left to go in qualifying. It's not over until it's over. Aston exits the pits on a new set of soft tyres. Looking further down the grid, I think Thunder just improved on his lap. Indeed, he did, with a 1:40.8. We've got someone approaching the end of the 3rd sector. Is Finn, who improved on his previous best lap. We'll have to wait and see if he can improve on the lap he set on lap 7. Or the time he set on lap 7, sorry. Careful on the throttle, actually decides to dart into the pit lane. Who's this approaching the line? We're not going to find out until they cross the line. I believe it was Wolfie, your GT Sport champion from last season's Group B championship. We're currently running in 11th place behind his teammate Ted, but ahead of his Irish rival Thunder. The gaps between the midfield drivers really, really close and competitive. They're 2.5 seconds off pole position, but look at that, 700ths behind Ted, and Ted is Finn is 7,000ths behind Aston, who's only 4/10ths behind Tiger, who's less than a 10th behind his teammate. We've got some really, really close gaps between a lot of the drivers. The biggest one is probably the one for provisional pole position. But can this man stop Dutchy from taking pole position? He's not going to do it this time out, because he's going to come into the pits for another set of mediums. The top 3 in quali have decided to dart off into the pits. And Tim follows them in. What about Piero? He's on an outlap. Let's get an onboard lap. We're going to do an audio lap, similar to how Toussaint does it in the Premier Series, but just listen to the audio through the 1st sector. It's absolutely incredible. These cars sound amazing, and something that's also quite amazing, Piero has got purple through the 1st sector, but he's gone off at turn 7, and in the same corner where we lost an unfortunate French driver in the Marussia. Piero has a similar incident, except he misses the barrier on the outside. Wolfie improves, goes up into 8th place, but we know the potential Piero has through the first sector. Purple by less than a tenth, but it's those fine margins that can mean so much, especially in a championship where we've seen drag races to the line determine the outcome of a championship. What can Tiger Assassin do? Up to the line, goes up into 2nd place, closes the gap to Play Dutchy to only 0.3 of a second. He's the second driver to get into the 1 minute 38. Ted also improves, goes just behind his teammate, 0.2 off of his teammate in 9th place. Bonivel on an outlap, and he has his old teammate in front of him to give him a nice tow down the start finish straight. I'm sure it'd be a bittersweet slipstream tow that Dutchy's giving his ex-teammate, but then that soon turns to dirty air through the very technical first sector. Riding on board, you can see it is an R-make this track. Aston with an outstanding lap goes up into 4th place. Did not see that coming. Bonnie's gone purple through the first sector by 0.2. It could be a quick lap from himself, bouncing back from last season. Scored a total of 1 podium, and that came at I believe it was Mount Panorama, but don't quote me on that. I believe it was. I think it was a 2nd place finish at Mount Panorama. Bonivel was only podium last season. We've got Aston off at turn 5 and get a replay to see how the Brit done it. I'm going to predict a tyre onto the grass. There's the tyre onto the grass, onto the curb, out of control, and unfortunately for him, ends up in the barrier. Doesn't have enough time to get round to the pits and start again, because Tiger Assassin could be the first driver to finish qualifying here. Can he put himself on provisional pole position? No, he can't. He will start no higher than 2nd place. Toussaint improves. He goes up into 4th place, 300ths behind Topster. Trying to find the next driver to come across the line, and it is going to be Ted MC, but it's not an improvement. He's in the 1 minute 56s, quickly flicking through. We've got someone off at the hairpin. That might have been Aston when flicking through, I'm not too sure. Can Play Dutchy extend his provisional pole advantage? Yes, he can, by almost 0.6. His ex-teammate Bonivel goes up into 2nd place, 0.5 off the Dutchman. What an outstanding lap from him to put it on the front row of the grid. But what about Topster? Can he improve on the mediums? Yes, he can, and it's good enough for 3rd place. We've got Thunder improving. He goes up into 12th place. Webson's stays 14th and is the 2nd behind the Scout Dan. I'm trying to find the next driver to come across the line. There's Tim, who goes up into the 2nd place and joins Dutchy on the front row of the grid. Piero goes up into 4th place and will join Bonnie alongside the 2nd row of the grid. But Tim, 0.3 off provisional pole with the 1 minute 37s. Only 2 drivers in the 1 minute 37s. We've got a few drivers coming across the line now. Quickly trying to flick through to find who they are. I think one of them might be Aston. One of them is Aston. And to round out qualifying for the first time this season, it's going to be Finn, who doesn't improve in the end. But it is a usual man on pole position. Play Dutchy will start this race out the front of the field with Atom close behind him in 2nd place. Bonivel will start in 3rd with Piero down in 4th place. Topster in 5th has Tiger Assassin alongside the company, with Toussaint behind in 7th. Aston in 8th has Finn and Wolfie behind in 9th and 10th. Ted and Thunder will start alongside each other in 11th and 12th, with Scout Dan and Webson's currently in a non-championship scoring position. Some stats about Suzuka. We're not going to get too many of them, but it's 5.8 kilometres this track, because we built 5 red lights for the first time in 2022, and it's the lights out and away we go. And it's a good start from Play Dutchy's almost clear of Tim, and Pierre off to a blistering start down the inside of Tim in towards turn 1. Do they negotiate it cleanly? They're 3 wide temporarily at the apex of turn 1. Pierre and Bonnie fighting away for 3rd place. Looking further down the grid, we've got Aston getting ahead of Thunder in 9th place, as everyone's made it through the first corner safely. 5/10 separating the advantage out in front. I don't believe anyone's going wheel to wheel through the S's. If so, congrats to you guys. And the Scout down rounds out back off the grid in 14th. Webson's with a good start. Already made 2 positions up from his starting position. Bonivel down, up into 3rd place, or maintaining 3rd place, I believe, as Toussaint's had, Toussaint is still in 7th place. So couldn't quite see him on the leaderboard. He's got Finn sending one down the inside of him into the hairpin. A really tricky traction zone on the exit, and Toussaint with the outside line is just able to stay ahead. I feel like I'm really shouting here because these engines are just so loud. It could be my volume. But Dutchy already with a 1 second advantage to Tim behind, Bonnie in 3rd, Lupiero in 4th, Pobster in 5th, has Tiger Assassin behind in 6th with his teammate in 7th, Finn closely behind in 8th, Aston in 9th on the alternate strategy with Thunder in 10th, and Ted behind in 11th, Webson's in 12th, Wolf in 13th with the Scout Dad in 14th. You can see all 14 cars down the same straight as they go through 130R for the first time this season, the first time this year. Anyone going to go for a late send down the inside? We're going to have Finn trying to send one. I think he might have just missed his braking point there and went over the curb to avoid contact with the Brit, and Dutchy sets the fastest lap of the race. And the first time penalty of the year goes to Finn. There has to be a first thing for everyone. But look at the speed that Dutchy has, at the end of the first lap. 1.4 second advantage already. Let's get the telemetry and everything back up on the screen so we can see how much deployment drivers are using. The overtake button on these Super Formula cars, similar to ERS in F1, except it doesn't recharge. So you do get slightly more than the F1 cars, but you can't use it all. Well, you can use it all, but you can't recharge it. Wolfie close to the back of his teammate, running in 12th and 11th place. The gap's kind of still really close to one another. I know the drivers were a bit concerned about the dirty air being horrendous around this track, but they seem to be keeping with each other fairly well at the end of the first lap. We've got 34 laps here of Suzuka, and where these drivers are on full throttle for 66% of a lap. Gear changes 48 on average per lap, but I'm sure in these Super Formula cars it might be slightly different to the F1 cars. You can just hear the engines roaring as they make their way through Spoon in the run down towards 130R. Don't think anyone's close enough to go sending one down the inside, but 1.7 seconds is the advantage out in front. Piero closely behind what looks to be one of his championship rivals, Attengren, running in 2nd and 3rd place. But they do have a nice train of cars behind. Toussaint slowly dropping off the back of Cobster. 8.5 tenths between those guys, as Finn is almost a second behind Toussaint. Aston's not too far behind Finn either. He almost, or could try and maybe go for a move. Someone has run wide, and I believe that is Tobster, who's gone off at turn 1. He's now down in 9th place. We can get a replay to see what happened to the German, but I'm going to guess dipping a wheel onto the outside AstroTurf. We can get a chase cam's perspective. He's ran slightly wide. Piero also ran wide on the exit of turn 1. Rejoins ahead of Toussaint, I think that was. But a costly mistake early on for Tobster demotes him down the grid in 9th place. And this race is all going to be about keeping the car on the track, as that mistake from Piero has dropped him down in 6th place. Behind Toussaint, but ahead of Finn. He needs to close that gap down just a little bit to get the full slipstream advantage from the car in front. We can ride on board with the Frenchman just to see how close the gap is. It's 8.5 tenths. He's just jumping on the border of being within that slipstream range, along with Bon Evil, 8 tenths behind Tim. That gap starting to extend a little bit. Similarly with the two BCMR teammates. Tiger 1.7 seconds ahead of his teammate and what could be championship rival. We've got 9 races throughout the season. Is Aston going to send one down the inside of Finn, or is Tobster going to send one down the inside of Aston? In the background, we've got Thunder and Ted going wheel to wheel through the final chicane. Thunder on the outside. Can he make this one stick? Promotes himself up into 10th place, and the alternate line that Ted had to take through the final corner might be enough that Wolfie needs to get through. But looking further up the field, we've got Tobster getting ahead of Aston up into 8th place on those medium tyres. And Thunder keeps the position in towards turn 1. We've got Ted and Wolfie running in 11th and 12th place, and Wolfie ran a little bit wide on the exit of turn 2. The Scout Dan had a little look to the outside of turn 3, but there wasn't the room, wasn't far enough alongside to try and go for a move. We've got battles happening all the way throughout the entirety of the grid, and should promote for a really interesting championship. Good evening, Zexify in the chat. I actually don't need to get the chat up on my screen because I've got it popping up on in the corner of my screen, so I can actually turn that off and save the internet and have smoother gameplay. So if anything is wrong with the stream, please let me know and I'll reload up Twitch and see if I can get it all sorted. But we're 4.5 laps into the first race of the season and the first race of 2022, and it is Play Dutchy carrying out things as he left off last season. 2.4 seconds advantage to Tim behind, followed by Bonnie in third place, running well for the BCR esports team. Has Tiger 4/10 behind in fourth place, and it's interesting to note who's using their overtake. You can see Tim and Bonnie both have a lot of their overtake left. Tiger's only used up 25% of his overtake. As you can see in the bottom right hand corner, there is the overtake, and when it's red, that is when they are deploying the battery. But unlike F1, to any new viewers or those unfamiliar with the Super Formula, it doesn't recharge as the race goes on. The scout Dan using his overtake to get ahead of Ted and promote himself up into 11th place. Currently, Wolfie and Websons won't be scoring any championship points because the new point system we've implemented this season has kind of narrowed down and reduced the amount of points that you can earn from a race weekend. The bottom two drivers unfortunately don't get points, but it should give them more determination to try and fight for that crucial P12. That 1 point might be the crucial point, or the vital point, that they might need in their championship battles, whether it's for first or for 11th. Evil just slowly starting to fall off the back of Tim. The gap 0.8 of a second, but has saved a lot of his overtake. He might have used it once this race. That could be the second time he's used it. A little dab on the overtake button, not holding it for too long. You can see Tiger's used quite a bit of his overtake. He seems to be going for the drain it all at once tactic on the opening laps, which, to be fair, it is a tactic. If it's a track that's difficult to overtake, then it could be important to try and get track position early on and use the battery. But having said what I said a few seconds ago, Bonnie Evil has caught up to the back of Tim, and is he close enough to go for a move into turn one? He's going to be within the slipstream. He looks for a move to the inside, but decides to back out of it in the end. In the background, Finn and Tops are going wheel to wheel in the run down towards turn one. Finn's just able to stay ahead of his fellow German driver. One teammates with Thunder, the other one teammates with Tim at either end of the field. One running a beautiful McLaren Golf livery, the other one running another beautiful livery, one that looks fairly similar to the Manor from 2016, with CloudStrike, Fanatec, Rich Energy, and the rest of the sponsors that are on Tobbs' car. You can see his helmet that he's using for this race or this season. You've got the Rich Energy sponsor on his helmet as well. That gap out in front is only extending as Bonnie Evil loses the rear on the exit of the hairpin. That could cost him a position to Tiger Assassin. You know what, it has lost him a position to Tiger Assassin. A huge snap of oversteer on the exit of the hairpin. Let's get a replay. Riding on board to see exactly what happened. You can see the throttle inputs just puts foot to the floor, and that is not the most smart thing to do through the hairpin. These cars, obviously no traction control, very fairly similar to F1 cars, except a bit slower. You can see lap times we've got in the 1 minute 14s compared to usual F1. Tiger then slightly defensive to the inside of the hairpin. Piero closely behind Tiger to Saint, with Tobster closely behind Finn going into the hairpin. Wolfie's going to go for a move down the inside and towards 130R. Goes alongside the Scout down. These two still going wheel to wheel. One in the Honda Tribute Red Bull, the other in a custom-made green and what's that colour? Purple. I forget what team they're on. I believe it's Forget Me Not. Wolfie now pulling up to the inside in towards turn one. Can he get ahead of the Scout down into turn one and make it stick? Yes, he can. Promotes himself up an extra position. I thought Toussaint had someone close behind. No, sorry, that was Finn. Yeah, Finn and Topsy, sorry. We're back. No, it was Piero. Piero's made another mistake. Piero now down into 8th place. The replay cameras won't go that far back, so I think it's probably another error down at turn 1 and 2. Hugely unfortunate for Piero, was running in a podium position. Now found himself in 8th place. I knew someone was behind Toussaint. And that was Piero getting out of shape again on the exit of the hairpin. The second driver I've seen make a similar mistake. You can see a replay camera of the rear stepping out through the hairpin. It's quite nice watching those cars do that little twist and slide as Tiger Assassin now has the job of closing the gap to Tim, who's dropped Bonnie by a few tenths in the last lap. The gap now a second between the two drivers. Dutchy, though, with an outstanding lead already. 4.2 seconds. Let's go back down to the battle for 10th place, and that battle's rather extended to just over a second as Dutchy starts lap 8 of 34, and does have the fastest lap of the race, so we'll be getting an extra point if he can keep it. We've got Tobster and Finn going side by side in the run down towards turn 1, but with a bit of overtake. What might have been a better exit from the final corner. Tobster finds his way up into 6th place and will be scoring some good points for the Cloud Strike Racing team. I'm not too familiar what their team name is called, but I know the main title sponsor essentially is Crowd Strike. I think they've just called themselves Crowd Strike. You know, you got to do what you got to do. But we do have 14 very nice liveries on this grid. They are going to be changing slightly race to race. In fact, every race, because we're changing cars each week. Next week we're in the GT4 cars at Lego Maggiore for 2 races around the east and the west variant. The first time we've done that in the GT Sport League. We're trying a slightly different concept to the sprint races. Kind of doing sprint races, but it's not quali. They're 2 races. Points are available for both races. With qualifying, they're technically 2 different tracks. Should make things interesting. And we should have a very interesting season lined up for us. Changing car every single week. We might have someone who's really quick in one car, not so quick in another. My apologies. Not so quick in another, but fairly consistent. Or we might have someone who's fairly consistent and average in the cars. We'll have to wait and see. The gap between Aston and Wolfie is 8-9 seconds. Keep an eye on that. I think Wolfie's made a mistake there because it has gone up to almost 10, and the Scout Down is right behind him. He's now alongside the Irishman in the run down towards turn 1. I think, can we do this? No, we can't do what I was hoping for, but the Scout Down and Wolfie now going wheel to wheel once again into turn 1. They're still going to go side by side. Wolfie's ran wide onto the AstroTurf and he's kept it out of the barriers, but not out of the gravel, and a full 360 for the Irishman. Rejoins the track just behind Ted. Is he going to be behind Webson's? Indeed he is, and will drop to the back of the grid. Hugely unfortunate for Wolfie, just overshot it on the exit of turn 1, a mistake that's so easy to do at Suzuka, and like we were saying in qualifying, you really don't want to get on the AstroTurfs on this game. Dutchy, with a 4/10 penalty, has a 5-second lead over Attengren in 2nd, and Tiger running in 3rd place. Usual top 3 to the top 3 we saw at the end of last season. These guys had a podium, shared a podium 5 consecutive races in a row last season. I think it was all of Group 3 and the last race of Group 4. Well, all of Group 3 but the last one, and I think the last race of Group 4. I think these top 3 were the same top 3, but I think they've changed order slightly from race to race. You can see the field spread we have at the minute. Toussaint is 11.5 seconds off Play Dutchy. And meanwhile in the background we've got Finn and Pierre now going side by side in towards turn 1. 2 cars with orange on their livery. They're still going to go wheel to wheel on the apex of turn 1 and 2. Finn holding it round the outside. If he can make this stick, that would have been a beautifully executed move, but it's Piero who makes his way up into 7th place, trying to get some more points for him and Play Duchy in the Constructors' Championship. Play Duchy yet to win the team's championship, running the BCR Esports livery. I can't remember what team Piero's in. I think it's Interrogator, his team, Piero and Duchy. There's a 6-second lead over Tim in second, and a 17.7 second lead over his teammate in seventh. Lots of sevens in that sentence. Let's see if Finn can stay with Piero. Being in the slipstream range, we've seen Piero's pace, we saw it in quali, we saw it in the first half of the race. Let's see though what Wolfie's pace is like. He's now on a recovery drive after the mistake he made down at turn 1. Running wide when going wheel to wheel with the Scout down. He's a few seconds up the road in 10th place, but has to negotiate Ted and Thunder in front of him. Two Irishmen battling for 11th place, and Ted's going to go down the inside of Spoon, and a beautiful move from Ted, saw Thunder run wide and took the opportunity beautifully to get himself an extra couple of points in the championship. Three Irishmen running in 11th, 12th and 13th. We've got just a few less than we did at the end of the Group B championship, which was very Irish and British dominated. But here we go now, Ted having to defend the inside line through the final chicane because he's got Thunder right behind him, and right behind him is Ted's teammate. Maybe Ted might do some teammate tactics to hold up Thunder and back him up into Wolfie, but Thunder's going to really aggressively swipe to the inside. He tried to fake the outside, but left it a little bit late as they go wheel to wheel in towards turn 1. It's clean between the two drivers. It looks like there's a little bit of lag. I think that's coming from, I'm not sure whose side that's on. It might be Thunder's car. That's a little bit laggy. I'm not too sure. Hopefully it's not my internet. I think we are all good. Wolfie almost pushing Thunder through the S's, and the first sector we can ride on board with him. Thunder's gone slightly wide. Wolfie's going to take the opportunity to use a little bit of overtake, get a little bit of a better ride. They're going to go wheel to wheel into turn 9 and 10, but it's almost ended in disaster. With Wolfie overtaking on the gravel, Thunder's going to find this one back in towards the hairpin. Is he going to send one down the inside? Is Wolfie going to leave the door open? The door was left wide open for Thunder to send one down the inside. Later on the brakes, gets it stopped in time, and all this for 1 point. But that crucial point might be a deciding factor in their championship fight, wherever it may be on the grid. It's a stunning battle between these two, but a costly one, because it's almost 3 seconds now, the gap to Ted. And these two, well, when you battle around this track, you really do lose time. Is Thunder going to deploy overtake? I think that's Thunder used all of his overtake. Thunder has used every ounce of his overtake. He's got nothing left. Is he the first driver to do that? That hastens into the pits off the softs. But we had a first time for a penalty. Thunder's got an issue. That was contact. There might have been contact between those two, because it looks like Wolfie's got off the track to let Thunder go through. What's happened here between the two Irishmen? We can get the replay to see what happened. I was flicking through the grid here. Did Thunder send one down the inside? And then very centre-like, there was contact between the two. It might not have looked it, but I think Thunder slowed down to let Wolfie go back through. We can get confirmation now to see if he did. And yes, he did. They're now down in 13th and 14th place. The first crash of the season happening at the same corner. Tiger and Hussein crashed last season, and in very sportsmanlike manner, Thunder letting Wolfie go back through, but a costly mistake from Thunder. And they're now 5 seconds behind Websons, and Aston's rejoined this race in 11th place on the super soft tyres. So really going for a different strategy here tonight. Hasn't used the medium tyres yet, so still has to go onto the yellow striped tyre, but Ted doesn't look like he's putting up much of a fight against Aston on the fresh set of super softs compared to Ted's one mediums. This could be an interesting strategy that Aston's going for. He's got to use the mediums, but all 4 tyres are available. Is he going to use the quickest compounds when everyone else is on the slowest, and then go to the end on the mediums? Because we might have drivers like Dutchy and Tiger go for medium, because that technically is a legal strategy. There is nothing in the rules for this season that says you have to use 2 different compounds. You just have to use the mandatory one, and that for this race is the medium. Some other might have, some Could be soft medium, soft hard, soft medium hard. Could just be soft. In the same way that this is just medium. Thunder has unfortunately disconnected from the race, the first disconnect of the season. And on lap 13, we're left with 13 drivers. And the battle for 13th, they had to make it work. Technically, the battle for 12th between Wolfie and Webson's the final point, and Wolfie has got the move done up into 12th place after his collision with Thunder. Now has 9 seconds to catch up to his teammate, who has been overtaken by Aston. 4 seconds to scout down. That's come down a few tenths. Aston's purple through the first sector, so he's quicker than the front runners on the medium tyres, and this is interesting. I'm sure these drivers aren't going to know that he's going purple unless he sets the fastest lap of the race. So maybe they might try something different with their strategies. It could be the difference between a potential 1, 2 or even a 3 stop, depending on what you're doing. Tobster, though, has caught up to the back of Toussaint, and it looks like he's used a lot of overtake to do it. He's less than 50% of overtake left. He's about 40 on the battery, and he's 3.5 tenths behind in the run down towards turn 1, but he's not close enough to go for a move. What's happened to Tim, actually? I've only just noticed Tim's down in 6th place. My apologies. I'm going to get confirmation to see exactly what happened, because I am the FIA and the number 1 Supreme Leader admin guy in the world. I have access to the highest technology to determine what caused Tim's incident. He was running in 2nd place, and well, looking back at my high-tech footage, he ran wide at turn 1 all the way on lap 10 and ran wide onto the gravel on the exit of turn 2, similarly to how we saw a few drivers do it previously, and that's what cost him the position to Toussaint. What cost him the position to Tobster, I'm not too sure. I think there might have been an overtake from Tobster whilst we were watching the battle with Wolfie and Thunder, so my apologies for missing that one. I didn't press the replay button, but okay, we'll get a brief replay of Tobster going through the SS section. We now cut back to him trying to get past the GT Sport Season 1 GT Sport champion with a nice run through 130. Has to lift off slightly due to the overspeed, but Toussaint parks his car in the middle of the track, not allowing Tobster to go through, playing the ultimate team game for his teammate, who's running in 2nd place, and that is Tobster into the pits on lap 14. A different strategy call. Tim follows him in, so a lot earlier than the top runners I think we're expecting. They've taken their tyres 15 laps, and they still seem to be in pretty decent shape. Well, they're still round, which is I guess a plus, but Tiger Assassin, he's setting a personal best through the first sector. What tyres, though, do these drivers go on to? Is it going to be a soft or another set of mediums? The Scout Dan's also into the pits. We'll keep an eye on it. This promotes Aston up into 7th place, and he has set fastest lap of the race. It's mediums for Tim. I didn't see what tops went on. It's another set of mediums. Maybe if they'd have taken them two more laps, they could have gone to the end and done half and half. Maybe they're just going to try the undercut, do 15 laps on the first set of mediums, and then do 19 laps on the second half. And I think there was team orders there. Tim letting Tobster drove through. Almost contact between the two. I think there might have even been contact. We'll get a replay just to watch. Yeah, definite team orders, and I think there might have been a slight wheel rub between the two. But they're going to work together, I'm sure, to work their way back up the grid to finish this race in as high as a position as possible. Tiger, Dutchy stay out. What does Bon Evil do? Does he react to Tim? No, he doesn't. He stays out. What about Toussaint? Running in 4th place. His front tyres are looking pretty worn. You can see in the bottom left-hand side of the screen. He stays out. What about Piero? I think they're trying to make it to the 17-lap mark before they decide to dive it into the pits. Finn also stays out, so it's an interesting strategy call from Tim and Tobster. but maybe they've realised how tricky it is to overtake around this track and the impacts of the dirty air. So they're going to get the lap time on the fresher tyres. Look at that red box on the leaderboard. That is the gap to the leader. We're going to monitor that because it is going down by, it's come down by 2/10 at that one hairpin. 49.1 seconds is the gap between Tim and Play Dutchy. There are blue flags being waved, but I think that's because these drivers are close to those going through the middle sector. And that's Hussein and Piero actually going wheel to wheel through turn 7. Piero backs out of it in the end. Piero has some really significant pace in these Super Formula cars. It's good seeing these drivers fighting for higher positions, and it might be something that varies throughout the season. As an example, Dutchy might be on fire in these cars, but he might finish 8th in Group 4. He won't have the pace for someone who could be quick in Group 4. I know that's probably not going to happen. We'll have to wait and see, but that will be the new dynamic of this season. Pretty much following similar to the Nations Cup style. We've got a different car each week, which should make it really interesting to see who can perform best in each car class. We're off to GT4 next week for Lago Maggiore, as Dutchy has started the halfway mark. Lap 17 of 34, Bonivo, the first of the top 5 to come into the pit lane. What about Toussaint? Will he follow him in? Yes, he does. He reacts, and Piero will stay out and get a little bit of clean air and promotes himself back up into the podium positions. And Finn will slot into 4th place for now as he stays out on the medium compound tyre. Where will Tim and Tobster though feed out onto the grid? Tim was behind Tobster, Toussaint, Piero. Where is Toussaint? He's still in the pits. You can see it by the icon on the left hand side on the leaderboard. His car still in the pits. You can see the arrow has just left the pit lane. This is going to be close between these two. It could even be close between Tobster on the exit. They go wheel to wheel into turn 1. Not quite. Tobster has to back out in the end because Toussaint just got the jump on the German and feeds into 8th place. But obviously a few drivers yet to make their pit stops. Hello and welcome to everyone who is currently tuning in for the first race of the GT Sports season and the first race of the 2022 calendar year for Gavra Racing. Just when we thought the league would be discontinued, the people wanted it back. So Gavra's gone ahead and we've got another league, another season of F1 and GT Sport. F1 soon to be starting soon. I'm not sure how many spaces there are left, but for anyone watching this race live and are interested in a race this Tuesday, the 11th of January, there is an F1 event at Imola. 2 races, 225% races, I think. We're going to have to cut back to the action though because we've got Tim and Toussaint going wheel to wheel in the run down towards 130R. Toussaint around the outside. There's contact between the two, and Toussaint probably having a little bit of deja vu to the incident he had last season, but this time can he get the move done round the outside cleanly? Indeed he does. There was a little bit of wheel banging between the two, and I'm sure these guys are going to be championship rivals in future races. Piero into the pits. Where will he field out? He's going to feed out behind Toussaint, so the overcut really hasn't worked well for the Frenchman, and Finn though has gained a little bit of time on Piero. As Toussaint now slots into 5th with Tim and Tobster closely behind in pursuit. We're going to have a 3-way fight for 5th place. Note the top 4 haven't pitted. Aston though has pitted for a set of super soft, starting this race on the soft, and we'll finish this race on the mediums. And if you consider it, hello Aston, where have you come from? Running in 4th place, 2.5 seconds behind Bonivo though, who has made a pit stop. Actually said Pit Bonnie has made a stop. Aston F1 has arisen from the shadows, and I think this is the highest he's ever run in a GT Sport League race, so huge congrats to the Brits. And well, yeah, an impressive strategy call. It looks like when he could pit, probably feed out around Wolfie, which is where he was before, and I'd imagine Wolfie would be into the pits for a set of medium tyres, so. Or maybe soft. Some drivers like Dutchy and Tiger, they might be extending their mediums. they could be going long. But yeah, this is definitely the highest Aston's ran. Sorry, since, yeah, I forgot he, actually thinking about it, he did win a championship. So my apologies, he did win the first Group B championship. But when you compare it to last season, it's the highest he's ran in a long while. Last season, fighting with the likes of Thunder and Websons. And well, this season he's up in 4th place, is on an alternate strategy, and needs to use the medium compound tyres. Finn getting ahead of Piero, converts himself up into 8th place on lap 18, starting lap 19. Tim dropping off the back of Toussaint now, 2.5 seconds between the two. And yeah, thank you, Woody, for the correction. My apologies once again. But it is great to see Aston running up in the top half of the grid once again. Still needs to pit for mediums, but he's in a good position to gain some points. The point system being changed this season. Last season it was 30, 24, 21, 18, 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And their points will go from 1st to 14th. But this season we've changed it for the top 12 scoring points, and it goes 25, 20, 16, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, I think. And 0 points awarded for 13th and 14th place. We're down to 13 drivers after Thunder 50-50 disconnected at the end of lap 13. Or I think it was just end of lap 12 onto lap 13, not too sure. The gap out in front is rather stabilising, to be honest. It's 8.4, 8.5 seconds, but hasn't really changed all too much in the past few laps. They've been there or thereabout, and well, saying we should monitor the gap between Tim and the leader, which was 49 seconds. It's now 51, so if anything, he's lost time fighting with Toussaint. But Toussaint is 47 seconds behind Dutchy, so it is closing the time. And he actually went to the soft pretty early. What about Bonnie? He went for mediums. Welcome, Cryptech, in the chat. Yes, the season starts today. It pretty much had to start today if we were to get a decent length calendar in before GT7 launches, which is on the 4th of March. So we start this season nice and early. We are it's a pretty short winter break, only 3 weeks I think it was. No, 4 weeks, sorry. Is it 4 weeks? It's 3 or 4 weeks since the end of season 4. Who is Tobbs' teammate? They are running in 6th place, and they are from the land of Finland, and he goes by the name of Attengren, running in 6th place. You can see Tobbs and Tim running similar liveries and running in a similar position on track, but I believe Tim started this race in 2nd place, but a mistake at turn 1, dropped in a few positions behind Toussaint. Yes, it's crazy how we're already on season 5, and well, Woody's saying he remembers season 1 when he was a noob. How things have changed. Well, no, I'm joking. That's harsh. That's definitely how things have definitely changed from the start of the season, as Aston does pit. No, he doesn't. He lets Toussaint go through towards turn 1 up into 4th place. Apologies, Aston now down into 5th place, but still needs to pit for the medium compound tyres. Dutchy is flying as per usual, finishing things where he left off last season. And Tiger and Toussaint are the only 2 drivers who have yet to pit from this race, and I think they're extending their mediums to go to the soft compound tyres and finish this race on a 1-stop. Bon Evil's gone medium, but we have changed rules from last season. You now have to use the mandatory tyre, not 2 sets of tyres. Some races might have 2 mandatory tyres, but this race is only using the medium tyres. All 4 compounds are available, 6 if you include the intermediates and the wets, but doesn't look like it's going to rain. We'll have to wait for GT7 when we can get dynamic weather, and oh boy, how much I'm going to abuse it. We could have a little bit of fun with some custom dynamic weather. Dutchy's into the pits as Tiger Assassin stays out. I'm not sure he heard Piero's pit stop and how his overtake, or his cost him quite a little bit of time, and he's now running in 9th place. 2.5 seconds behind Finn. So where does Dutchy feed out onto the track? I'm assuming, well, it's going to be second place on the circuit, but will be first, unless he makes a mistake, and a mistake I'm sure keen viewers are going to be looking for. Really saying GT Sport League's racing would be amazing with safety cars. It can easily end Dutchy's domination. It could do. Whilst we have Group X races like these, we could deploy manual safety cars. That is an idea I've tampered with in the past, but I think it would just be a little bit too kind of confusing. In past experiences, not everyone reads the chat, although it's clear in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. It does require 100% communication from all the drivers. I'd need someone in the commentary box so they can hear me deploying the safety car. Obviously, they don't have to speak or anything. But I did when we were doing the GT3 Championship. I was contemplating using something like the Mercedes or the Nissan, quite a bigger car, as a safety car. We'd have someone in the commentary box listening in. I'd type something in the chat when it would be deployed. The only problem is there's no terminal damage, so it would be tricky to note when to manually deploy a safety car. We're almost going 3 wide on the exit of the hairpin. Topster and Tim now going wheel to wheel, forming a crowd strike blockade for Finn behind, who can't quite make his way past. They're going to go side by side in the run up towards Spoon. Finn's going to get involved in this battle as well, go down the inside of Tim in towards Spoon curve. Tim losing 2 positions in the space of 2 corners, and well, Tim and Topster now have a car in between the 2 teams as Tigers into the pits from the lead of the race. Look to rejoin in 3rd place. We'll keep an eye on the gap, but Finn is gaining quite significantly in the run down towards the hairpin. He's going to go for it around the outside of Topster. He brakes earlier for the corner. Finn late on the brakes. Might have cut the corner there. Might get a warning. Aston into the pit, so does Tim. Tim actually has damage. I'm not sure where he picked that up from, but we're going to focus on the battle for 5th place between the 2 Germans once again. Topster and Finn going side by side in the run down towards turn 1, in towards turn 1. And it is Topster who is able to maintain ahead. What a battle we've got here for 5th place. Amazing racing between these 2 all race long. We've seen so many wheel-to-wheel action in towards turn 1. And it's been absolutely incredible. Aston, to keep updated on his performance, is now running in 10th place. And on the medium tyres, he's used the mandatory set. Tim on the mediums rejoins in 9th place. Not sure where he got the damage from. And Cryptech in the chat saying that he picked up front bumper damage when entering the pits. Not the first time he's done that on the first race of the season. Well, if we take a short trip down memory lane, 2 seasons ago, where we were at Blue Moon Speedway, infield A in Group 4, when he made his pit stop, misjudged the pit lane, just a little bit too much, and got damaged when entering the pit lane. And, well, history has repeated itself. He's now running in, what's this, 9th place there behind the Scout Dan. 2.5 seconds between those guys, but 2/10 between Finn and Topster. And look who's gaining. Piero in the background running in 7th place. He might fancy a little bout of this battle as well, where Finn's going to go to the outside later on the brakes than Topster. Can he slow it down in time? And yes, he does. Uses the curb for the penultimate corner. Gets ahead of Topster, but for how much longer? With a tighter line, he's not going to get the run he needs to stay ahead in towards turn 1. No overtake button for Finn, but on the overtake for Topster, the rolls in reverse, so it's now Topster on the outside, in towards turn 1, he brakes earlier than Finn, and settles behind the German for now in 5th place, and settles in for 6th, but has a rapidly approaching Piero behind in 7th place, and Cryptex saying he's like the race director of GT Sport. He's filling me up with, no, that doesn't sound right, he's informing me with all the information that I need. And he's just sent me an image, and he's got 4 drivers' streams on his screen. That is commitment and dedication right there. Well, if you join me in the commentary box, Cryptech, then it could actually be some use rather than relaying the messages onto me. But I guess it's kind of like how Crofty does it. He has all he gets messages from the FIA, and he doesn't get. Well, he can only look at the screen he's looking at. Sometimes he gets informed on things, but anyway, we've got this battle between Thompson and Piero. Finn has extended his advantage to 1.2 seconds ahead of Thompson. Is Piero close enough to go for a move to the inside of Thompson in towards the hairpin? They're going to go into a Piero late on the brakes. Has he gone too late? He slowed it down just in time, but Thompson with the old switchback move, he actually dives into the pits, interestingly, from the mediums. Not sure what the call was there. He's used the medium tyres. He doesn't have any damage. He's now going to feed out behind Aston, maybe. He goes onto the softs. It is a quick pit stop. It actually didn't cost him as much time as I thought. He feeds out behind his teammate Tim, who's onto the back of the Scout Dan. A second between those two drivers. Dutchy with the fastest lap of the race. Maybe Tops is trying to snatch an extra point in the championship. 1 point awarded. Ball picking up the fastest lap of the race. And that is someone off, and I think that is the Scout Dan who has lost it. Let's get a replay. On board with the Brit through turn 5 into 6. Is he going to go off at turn 7 like Piero did in quali? Yes, he does. Does he spin it around? No, he doesn't. He keeps it going in a straight line in the gravel, and that's hugely unfortunate for the Scout Dan. He now drops down into 10th place, behind his teammate Aston F1, who's now running in 9th position. Really saying he could do a Jensen Button Monaco 2017, except not bin it and flip someone upside down. It's into the pits from the softs, and he believes he might have the advantage over Finn to get out ahead or make the time up in the final few laps of the race. Is he going to bolt on a set of the purple striped super soft and go for fastest lap of the race? Has he underfueled the car? There's fuel going into that super formula. It's half a tank, and it is 7 seconds behind Piero. Did he underfuel in the pit stop, or was this a strategic call for the strategy from the start? If he's to finish where he was before the pit stop, he's got to gain 10 seconds, and it's the soft tyre for Toussaint. It'll be softs against mediums and worn softs. Let me know in the chat, guys. Do you think Toussaint will finish this race ahead of Piero or even ahead of Finn in the remaining 8 laps of this race? Let's get some activity going on in the chat. Do you think Toussaint will finish higher than Piero or Finn in this race? He's on a fresh set of softs. Can he close down the gap? Meanwhile, let's try and look for some more on-track battles. We could have some between the Scout Dan and Aston F1 running in 9th and 10th place. Woody thinks he doesn't think so. He thinks he will finish in 6th place. We'll have to wait and see. Thank you to everyone who is tuning in for the first race of the year and the first race of the season. The gaps towards the back end of the field are starting to open up slightly. I believe the closest battle on track is the battle between Aston and Dan, but we've got to monitor the gap between Toussaint and Piero. It was 7 seconds going out of the pit lane. He's close to second this lap, and if he keeps up this pace, he'll be close behind right behind on the final lap. Overtaking difficulty will be medium, powered by AWS. I have absolutely no idea if that's going to be accurate or not, but at this pace he does seem to be closing at a second a lap. With 7 laps to go in a 5-second gap, or 5.5 second gap, it will be lap 33 when he's within the slipstream range. So we'll have to wait and see. Might try and go for the fastest lap of the race, which is currently held by Play Dutchy, who's making the first lap of the year. He's overtaking Webson's and running in 13th place, and unfortunately for Webson's, it's the first driver to be lapped. We've got a first for everything in this race. The first pit stop, the first penalty, the first disconnect, the first driver to be lapped. We haven't actually had first on-track crash. I don't think we have. We've had individual mistakes, but I don't think we've had a crash. And by crash, I mean both drivers ending up off the track, or one driver causing someone else to go off the track. Wow, 37s, he's on another level. I mean, Play Dutchy, I don't know what planet he's from, but for those who believe in aliens or don't believe in aliens, and well, we've got one right here. He's Dutch, his name is Play Dutchy, and he's 12 seconds clear of Tiger Assassin, running in second place. And he was one of two drivers in qualifying to get into the 37s. The other driver to get into the 37s is down in 7th place. And that was Attengrim. But unfortunately, a mistake at turn 1 cost him a little bit of time, plus the mistake into the pit lane. 4 seconds now, a lap later, between Toussaint and Piero, and he's closing it down the second of the lap. Woody doesn't think he'll get the position. My bet he is going to be really close behind that French Super Formula. If you compare lap times, it's a 38.3 for Toussaint and a 40.1 for Piero. He's 2 seconds a lap quicker than Piero from the softs to the mediums. Can Toussaint maybe even push for Finn in front? 6 seconds is the gap between Toussaint and Finn. According to Cryptech in the chat, Dutchy is telling Piero to hit Toussaint. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure how accurate the source is. It is coming from someone who commentated with me for about 2 or 3 races before deciding to leave. But yeah, not sure how. I mean, we'll have to wait and see if that is true or not, whether that does happen. Cryptech saying it's very accurate. Well, only time will tell. He's got to close the gap first before he can quote unquote hit him. Toussaint involved in an incident last season where he went through the corners where the incident occurred a few seconds ago, the penultimate chicane. Not one that I'm sure he wants to revisit in the near future. 2.5 seconds is now the gap between him and Piero. Almost. Well, we've got 5 laps to go in this race. And it could be a last lap showdown. The lights above the halo is the overtake button, I believe. I think it's green when someone's not using it. I think it goes red when they are using it, or it's red when it goes low. I'm not too sure, but I believe it is the overtake button. It's kind of like attack mode in Formula E, I think. And Cryptech saying there's a secret safety car which the race director will deploy on the last lap. Well, do you mean you'll deploy it and then have it come into the pits on the last lap? Or is it just going to deploy on the last lap and going to finish this race under a safety car? Because the first option, finishing the race under a safety car, I think it's, going back to the overtake, I think it's when they're low on overtake, because Tigers is red, and he's not using it, and he's low on overtake. Bonnie still has plenty of it left. Thunder, before he disconnected, which was on lap 13, he used all of his overtake by about lap 10. It was absolutely incredible. Meanwhile, we're keeping an eye on the gap between Toussaint, Piero and Finn, and they are all on the same straight. There is Finn, and you can see in the background the 2 cars in pursuit. Finn on the softs, but his softs are more worn than Piero's mediums, so Toussaint on the fastest compound tyre is at the back of this train, and I think he has near enough the highest overtake, though it's Piero who has the most overtake left on use. 4 laps left to go here in Suzuka. Woody didn't have faith in you, Toussaint, if you're watching. He didn't think you'd close the gap, but the race is now on. Closing the gap is one thing, overtaking is another. Apologies, Woody, for kind of calling you out in the chat, but I did bring up the question, and here is the answer. Can Toussaint, on this alternate strategy, find the pace to get ahead of Piero and Finn? He was in 4th place before the pit stop. After the pit stop, demoted him 7 seconds behind Piero. And in the last few laps, he is put foot to the floor. He's got his head down, and he is now in pursuit of the Frenchman. And I'm sure overtaking Piero will bring slight joy to his face, being Dutchy's teammate. He does not want Play Dutchy to run away with a championship title. He hasn't won one yet, so I'm sure Dutchy and Piero will be working extra hard to try and get their first Constructors' Championship in GT Sport. Woody's telling Piero to defend like a lion and prove him wrong. And apparently radio silence in the Two Saint chat. He's weaving to try and pull out of the slipstream of Piero, but he's not close enough alongside. Piero tries to defend the inside line. Now wheel to wheel towards turn 1. Piero with the switchback move. Can he get it down the inside and towards turn 2? No, he can't. Two Saint late on the brakes, around the outside and towards turn 1. Let's get a replay on board with the Brit to see exactly how he did it. So it was down the inside, pulls over. Look how much committed he is to the inside. There he goes. Piero tries to switch back, but there wasn't enough room to go for it. And now Finn is next on the overtaking list. Is on a worn set of soft compound tyres. Two Saint though has to be aware of Piero behind. I think the red light turns on when they're less than 25% of overtake left. Having said that, Finn's light is still on and Two Saints gone red. I think it's about 10 or 20%. Not sure who this guy is who's joined the lobby. Don't know how he's joined the lobby. The friends list is definitely quite limited on this second account. And it is a friends only lobby. Two Saint though, both Two Saint and Finn have low overtake button. Here goes Two Saint round the outside for 130R. Can he try a switchback move, set himself up in towards the final hairpin, the final chicane, sorry, not the hairpin. He's going to set himself up though for a move down into towards turn 1. Can he get back up into 4th place? He's definitely going to go for it on the fresh set of the sauce. Finn's going to try and fight this one back though, after what might have been a disappointing qualifying for him. They're wheel to wheel and they run down towards turn 1, and they're not wheel to wheel on the exit of turn 1 because Two Saint down the inside once again. It's a mirror image to the move he done on Piero, and he's now back up into 4th place. He's now just got to keep it on the track if he is to finish this race in 4th place. Not get any penalties either, and he should get some good points for the Constructors' Championship. Speaking of, let's do a quick calculation to see who will be leading the Constructors after this race. And with the new point system, Dutchy will be scoring 26 points. Piero will be scoring 25, 20, 16, 14, 12, 10 points. So they'll be on 36 points after round 1. Tiger and Two Saint, however, will be on 30 something. What is 4th place? I forgot what 14. They'll be on 34, so there will only be 4 points behind in Constructors, which is why this closer point system might make things a little bit more interesting with Piero down in 6th place. Worn mediums against worn softs now in the battle for 5th place as we start the penultimate lap of the race. It's so good, it rhymes. 5 tenths but separate Finn and Piero. So they start lap 33 of 34. It's not going to be the first time this race they've had an on-track battle, but that on-track battle is going to go to an end as Piero runs wide at turn 1. Not for the first time either, and drops him down a few seconds behind Finn. He's got the gap to stay ahead of Topster and Tim, who have both got ahead of Aston and Dan. Aston running a little bit low on fuel. Hopefully the replay feature goes that far back, and unfortunately it doesn't. I did forget to get the replay of Piero, unfortunate for him. But rounding the final corners for what won't be the final time just yet, because Play Dutchy starts the final lap of the race. He's led every single lap this race, apart from the lap where he darted into the pits. Tiger Assassin in second place. Apparently Dutchy's going for a fastest lap, so whilst there are no on-track battles, let's ride on board with your race leader and pole sitter to see if Dutchy can extend his fastest lap effort. So let's have a look at the first sector split. He's 2/10 down through the first sector, but he's kept it nice and clean through turn 7. He's deploying all of his overtake button through turn 8 and towards turn 9. Fast right-hander, he keeps it within the limits, and on the track you can see I think that's Topster going ahead over the bridge as they go through 130R, but continues to be down on his time. Through the hairpin, a tricky traction zone, he's able to negotiate it nicely on the throttle. We've seen a few drivers lose the rear, notably Bon Evil, and the opening few laps cost him the position. Tiger Assassin approaching Spoon Curve, where you want to be braking around the 50-metre board, hooking up the apex nicely. Doesn't actually go onto the AstroTurf. I thought he was running wide there, could have left him into a spin. On the exit of Spoon now, deploying all the overtake he has left in the run down towards 130R, going under the Dunlop signs. Is he improving? No, he's not. It doesn't look like he's going to be improving on this fastest lap as he approaches the final few corners for the final time this season, and he starts the season 5 in the similar fashion to the way he finished last season. He rounds the final corner and he wins here in Suzuka and takes home the first win of the season. Tiger Assassin rounding the final corner will take home another podium position to add to his collection and will finish in second place behind Play Dutchy. Bon Evil, for the first time this season, for the second time in his career, will finish finish on the podium, his first podium in Mount Panorama, and he kicks this season off on a high. Not Dutchy's teammate this season. I'm sure Dutchy will be kicking himself for giving Bonnie the boot, but it is a podium nevertheless, and a stunning third place. Toussaint missing out on the podium, but a great recovery drive after his second stop to put him up in 4th position and score some good points for the team. Finn beating Piero means that Piero still leads the constructors. Piero might just lose this to Topster across the line. No, he doesn't. Piero stays in 6th place, Topster in 7th, and Tim will finish in 8th. So as it stands, I believe Dutchy and Piero will be 2 seconds clear in the constructors as Tim crosses the line in style. Aston in 9th place, but I believe there was an incident with Tim, I'm being told. We're skipping back all the way to sector 1, so let's have a look to see if anything happened to Tim. Not sure what did. Quick text saying Tim went off, but unfortunately the race has ended. There is your starting grid, and once again I can say the same thing I've been saying for the past 6 months really. It's a familiar suit, a familiar face, and a familiar name on the top step of the podium, taking home another winner's trophy. But that brings an end to the league. Not to the league, sorry. That brings an end to round 1, the first race of 2022. And I gotta say, it was I enjoyed that race. To go through your finishing grid once again, let's Play Dutchy winning the first race of the season by 12.5 seconds to Tiger Assassin in 2nd place. Bon Evil takes his 2nd podium in his GT Sport career, beating out Toussaint in 4th place. He finishes 5 seconds ahead of Finn in 5th. Piero just ahead of Topster in 6th place. Topster finishing in 7th, beating his teammate down in 8th place. Aston finishing in a stunning 9th place for him, ahead of Wolfie and Dan 10th and 11th. And rounding out the points will be Websons in 12th. Not sure what happened to Ted there in the end, but he will finish his race in 13th, not score any points, and joining him at the back will be Thunder, the only retirement from this race. That brings an end to the first race of the season. We should hopefully have 8 more amazing races to finish this game. Whether you're watching this live or not, I hope you enjoyed this first race of the season. If you're new to GT Sport or not, trust me, we have tons of awesome races for the future. Every week, Friday, 9 o'clock Central European time, you know where to be, because we'll be here. Join us next week for some GT4 at Lago Maggiore, East and West. Goodbye.